He taught me to ride a bike. We built sandcastles, read stories, watched sunsets, and now he's getting married, and I'm not invited. One phone call erased a lifetime. The phone rang, just like any other morning, tea in hand, sun filtering through the curtains. I wasn't expecting much. At my age, surprises don't usually bring joy, but this one did the opposite. Dad, we decided not to invite you. That's what Mark said. No hesitation, no build-up. Just those words, dropped like a stone into the still water of my life. I didn't say anything at first. How could I? The silence was instant and deafening. My grandson, Thomas, was getting married. Lovely, beautiful, wonderful. Except, then came the gut punch. The words hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. Dad, we decided not to invite you. The initial reaction was a kind of stunned silence. My mind went blank. A void where moments before there had been the pleasant hum of a peaceful morning. The phone felt heavy in my hand, the plastic suddenly cold and alien against my skin. I blinked, trying to process the information, to make sense of the cruel twist of words. Not invite me. To my grandson's wedding. It felt unreal, a cruel joke played by some unseen, malevolent force. My grandson, Thomas, the boy I'd held in my arms, the boy I'd taught to ride his bike, to fish, to appreciate the quiet beauty of a sunset. He didn't want me there. Disbelief warred with a creeping sense of dread. The numbness began to fade, replaced by a cold, hard knot of sorrow in my chest. A wave of anger threatened to engulf me, a furious tide threatening to break the dam of my composure. Years of carefully constructed routines, of quiet contentment, shattered in an instant by this single, devastating phone call. 75 years of life, of love, of family, boiled down to this: exclusion. The sting was sharp, a wound inflicted not by a stranger, but by my own flesh and blood. And the silence that followed the call was far heavier than the words themselves. It was the silence of betrayal, of broken trust, and of a future I never imagined. It was the silence of a grandfather's heart breaking, and it was a silence that would echo for a long, long time. The sting of that phone call, it still echoes. But before the hurt, before the anger, before the crushing weight of exclusion, there were years. Years of laughter, of shared moments, of a bond I thought unbreakable. My mind drifts back to a time when Mark was just a boy, all scraped knees and boundless energy. I remember the countless hours spent fishing by the lake, the quiet understanding that passed between us without words. He'd sit patiently, his small hand nestled in mine, his eyes wide with the wonder of the world unfolding around him. We weren't just father and son. We were companions, confidants, sharing secrets whispered amidst the rustling reeds and the gentle lapping of the water. Those were simpler times, simpler joys. I recall the Christmas mornings, the chaotic unwrapping of presents, the air thick with the scent of pine and anticipation. He'd always insist on opening his gifts last, a quiet act of generosity that spoke volumes about the boy he was. And the summer evenings, spent playing catch in the backyard, the soft glow of the setting sun painting the sky in hues of orange and gold. The ball, worn and faded, a silent witness to countless throws and catches, a symbol of our connection. Those were the years of building memories, brick by brick, creating a foundation I believed would last a lifetime. He'd tell me everything, his triumphs, his failures, his hopes, his dreams. I was his confidant, his advisor, his unwavering support. I remember the pride swelling in my chest as I watched him graduate, as he found his own path in life. There were disagreements, of course. Fathers and sons rarely see eye to eye on everything, but even those disagreements were rooted in a deep-seated love and respect. They were the minor tremors in the foundation of our relationship, nothing that could shake it to its core, or so I thought. The memory of those simpler times, of that unwavering bond, only intensifies the pain of this present reality. The cruel irony is that the very foundation I worked so hard to build seems to have crumbled under the weight of something I don't yet understand. Then came Thomas, my grandson. The arrival of a grandchild is a unique experience, a profound shift in perspective. Suddenly, the years melt away and you find yourself experiencing the world anew through the eyes of a child. With Thomas, it was instantaneous, a love so pure, so unconditional, it felt like a gift from heaven. I remember the first time I held him, a tiny bundle of warmth and wonder, his eyes wide and innocent. It was a moment etched forever in my memory, a moment of pure, unadulterated joy. He was a quiet child, observant, thoughtful. He didn't need a constant stream of entertainment. He found pleasure in the simple things. Watching ants march across the pavement, listening to the wind rustling through the leaves, the quiet contemplation of a beautiful sunset. These were the moments we shared, quiet moments of connection, a silent communion of souls. We'd spend hours together, building sandcastles on the beach, his small hands carefully shaping the towers, his laughter echoing in the salty air. We'd go on nature walks, me pointing out the different birds, the wildflowers, teaching him the names of the trees, sharing the secrets of the woods. He was a quick learner, absorbing knowledge like a sponge. He loved stories, and I spent countless evenings reading to him, my voice a soothing balm against the anxieties of the day. We'd talk about everything and nothing, sharing dreams and fears, hopes and aspirations. He'd ask me questions about my life, about my childhood, about the world before his time, and I'd tell him stories, weaving tales of a life lived fully, a life rich in experiences. These were the moments that forged our bond, the shared moments that cemented our relationship. He wasn't just my grandson, he was my friend, my confidant, a kindred spirit. And now he doesn't want me at his wedding. The thought is almost unbearable, a cruel paradox that shatters the very essence of what I believed our relationship to be. The pain is a constant ache, a reminder of a love betrayed, a bond broken. Looking back, I can see the subtle cracks appearing, hairline fractures in the seemingly solid foundation of our family. They were so small at first, almost imperceptible, like the faintest tremor in the earth before a major quake. Perhaps it started with differing opinions on Thomas's education. Mark, years always the pragmatist, favored a more traditional approach, while I, perhaps overly sentimental, believed in nurturing his creativity, encouraging his artistic endeavors. These were minor disagreements, of course, easily resolved with a compromise. But in retrospect, they were the first whispers of a growing divide. Then there were the holidays, the gatherings that once brought us such joy, now tinged with a subtle undercurrent of tension. Small arguments, disagreements over trivial matters, the kind of friction that often arises between generations with differing perspectives. I'd try to bridge the gap, to ease the tension with a joke or a shared memory, but the chasm seemed to grow wider with each passing year. I dismissed it as the usual friction of family life, the inevitable bumps in the road of any long-term relationship. I was wrong, terribly wrong. There were subtle shifts in Mark's demeanor towards me, a subtle coolness that I initially attributed to stress or simply a busy life. He'd become less communicative, less inclined to share his thoughts and feelings. The easy flow of conversation, the effortless exchange of ideas that had once characterized our relationship, began to falter. I tried to reach out, to reconnect, but my attempts were often met with a curt response, a hurried goodbye, a veiled excuse. The silence between us grew, an uncomfortable void filled only by the unspoken anxieties and resentments building beneath the surface. I should have seen the warning signs, the subtle shifts in dynamics, the growing distance, but blinded by love and a lifetime of shared experiences, I failed to recognize the ominous clouds gathering on the horizon. The storm, it seems, was brewing for much longer than I realized. The distance wasn't a sudden, dramatic rupture. It was a slow, insidious creep, like the tide receding from the shore, leaving behind a vast expanse of emptiness. It started subtly, with missed phone calls and unanswered emails. Then came the shorter visits, the less frequent gatherings, the dwindling invitations. The excuses were always plausible, always reasonable. Work commitments, busy schedules, family emergencies. But the truth, I now suspect, was far simpler, far more painful. He was drifting away. I remember one Christmas, specifically, a particularly poignant example of this growing distance. We'd always celebrated together, a boisterous gathering filled with laughter, good food and the warmth of family. That year, however, felt different. The atmosphere was strained, the conversation stilted. Mark seemed preoccupied, distant, his responses curt and brief. Thomas, usually so full of life and energy, was quiet, withdrawn. The joy that had always defined our Christmases was absent, replaced by a heavy silence, a palpable sense of unease. It was the first Christmas I felt truly alone, surrounded by family, yet utterly isolated. The following summer, we planned a family vacation, a tradition we'd upheld for years. But as the date approached, Mark became increasingly evasive, offering vague excuses and postponing the trip indefinitely. It was then that a deep sense of foreboding settled in my heart. The casual cancellations, the half-hearted apologies, the subtle avoidance, these were not the actions of a son who cherished his father. They were the actions of a man building a wall, brick by brick, between himself and his past. The realization was painful, a slow, agonizing dawning of a truth I desperately wanted to deny. The distance wasn't just geographical, it was emotional, a chasm that seemed to grow wider with each passing day, each missed opportunity for connection. And now, the final, most devastating distance of all, the absence of an invitation. The final blow, the event that irrevocably shattered the fragile remnants of our relationship, remains shrouded in a frustrating ambiguity. It wasn't a single explosive argument. It was a slow accumulation of misunderstandings, a series of seemingly insignificant events that, in retrospect, proved to be devastating. I believe it began with a disagreement over finances, a loan I offered, a loan he felt obligated to repay, creating a strain on our already fragile bond. The details are fuzzy, lost in the fog of hurt and resentment. But the outcome remains clear, a rift that widened into a chasm, leaving me on one side and my son and now my grandson on the other. There was a misunderstanding involving my wife, a miscommunication that spiraled out of control, fueled by assumptions and fueled by hurt feelings. It was a situation that demanded clarity, understanding, and forgiveness. Instead, it became a battleground, a site where our shared history seemed to be the only casualty. The details are painful to recall, a tapestry woven with threads of anger, bitterness, and regret. I tried to mend the fences, to bridge the growing divide. I offered apologies, explanations, compromises, but my efforts were met with silence, or worse, with accusations and recriminations. The conversations became increasingly tense, punctuated by silences that felt heavier than any words. The shared memories, once a source of comfort and connection, now felt like weapons, used to inflict pain and reinforce the growing distance. It wasn't a single event that caused the rift. It was a slow erosion of trust, a gradual dismantling of the foundation upon which our relationship was built. And the final, cruel act of exclusion from Thomas's wedding serves as a stark, painful reminder of the irreparable damage that has been inflicted. The silence now hangs heavy, a constant reminder of the love lost, the connections severed, the bridges burned. It's easy, isn't it, to focus solely on my own pain, my own sense of loss, but I must try to understand Thomas's perspective, to see things from his point of view. He's a young man, navigating the complexities of adulthood, forging his own path, building his own life. He might have his own reasons for wanting to keep the wedding intimate, reasons that have nothing to do with a lack of love or respect for me. Perhaps he feels protective of his father, shielding him from further pain or conflict. He may have witnessed the friction between his father and me, the subtle tensions, the unspoken resentments. Perhaps he feels the weight of that conflict, the burden of a family divided. He might feel the need to create a space of peace and harmony, a sanctuary from the discord that has marred our family relationships. It's possible he's trying to protect his own happiness, to create a wedding day free from the shadow of past hurts and grievances. He might believe that my presence would only serve to reignite old wounds, to disrupt the joyful celebration he envisions. Or perhaps he simply doesn't understand the depth of our bond, the years of shared experiences, the unwavering love I've always held for him. He might see only the surface, the recent conflicts, the strained interactions, overlooking the years of laughter, the countless memories we've shared. Young people often lack the perspective that comes with age and experience. They may not fully appreciate the weight of history, the significance of long-standing relationships, the enduring power of family ties. I can only hope that someday he will understand. That someday, he will see beyond the surface, beyond the hurt and the misunderstandings, to the unwavering love that remains, a love that transcends the hurts and misunderstandings of the past. For now, though, the silence remains, a heavy cloak of unspoken words and unfulfilled hopes. The news hit me like a physical blow, a crushing weight settling on my chest, stealing the air from my lungs. Sadness, raw and visceral, washed over me, a tidal wave of grief that threatened to drown me in its depths. It wasn't just disappointment, it was a profound sense of rejection, a gut-wrenching feeling of being unwanted, unloved, invisible. The years melted away, and I was a child again, abandoned and alone. Anger followed, a burning resentment that gnawed at my insides. Anger at Mark, at Thomas, at the cruel irony of being excluded from a celebration that should have been a joyous occasion, a testament to the enduring power of family. The anger was a bitter poison, corrupting my thoughts, twisting my memories, turning the sweetness of shared moments into shards of resentment. It felt like a betrayal, a deep wound inflicted by those I loved most. Confusion added to the turmoil, a bewildering sense of disorientation. Why? Why would they do this? What had I done to deserve such an exclusion? The questions echoed in my mind, unanswered, fueling the growing sense of despair. The silence following the phone call was deafening, a void filled only by the relentless pounding of my heart, a frantic drumbeat against the ribs of my aching chest. The weight of rejection was almost unbearable, a crushing burden that threatened to crush me beneath its immense weight. It's a heavy cloak I wear, this feeling of betrayal, a constant reminder of the love lost, the connections severed. The silence continues to echo, a constant and painful reminder of the family I've lost. My hands trembled as I dialed Mark's number, the phone feeling heavy and cold in my grip. The ringing tone seemed to stretch out endlessly, each ring a hammer blow to my already fragile composure. When he finally answered, his voice was distant, detached, lacking the warmth and affection I'd always known. I plunged in, my carefully rehearsed words dissolving into a torrent of hurt and confusion. I asked him why he'd excluded me, why he'd chosen to inflict this pain. His response was curt, evasive. He spoke of a need for intimacy, for a smaller, more private celebration. He mentioned the recent difficulties, the strained relationship, the lingering resentment. He spoke in generalities, avoiding specifics, offering no real explanation, no genuine apology. His words were carefully chosen, measured, lacking the emotional depth I craved. It was as if he was speaking to a stranger, a distant acquaintance rather than his father, the man who had loved and supported him unconditionally. I tried to push for more, to understand the underlying reasons for his actions, but my attempts were met with resistance, with a wall of carefully constructed defenses. The conversation felt strained, a painful dance around the core issue, the raw wound that lay between us. It ended as it began, with a sense of incompletion, of unanswered questions and lingering hurt. I hung up the phone, feeling more lost and confused than ever. The silence that followed was deafening, the weight of his words settling upon me like a shroud. The hope for reconciliation, for understanding, seemed to fade with each passing second, replaced by a deep, abiding sense of despair. The conversation served only to deepen the chasm between us. Days turned into weeks, and the silence remained, a heavy blanket smothering any hope of reconciliation. I tried again, reaching out to Mark, sending emails, leaving messages, hoping for a glimmer of understanding, a crack in the wall of his silence. Each attempt was met with the same cold indifference, the same carefully constructed evasiveness. It was as if I was speaking to a ghost, a phantom of the son I once knew. In desperation, I reached out to other family members, hoping someone, anyone, could shed some light on this baffling situation. My daughter-in-law, Sarah, offered little help, her responses guarded, her words carefully chosen. She expressed sympathy for my pain but offered no real explanation for Mark's actions. It felt like I was navigating a minefield, each step fraught with the potential for further hurt and misunderstanding. My attempts to engage with Mark's sister, Emily, were equally fruitless. She, too, seemed reluctant to delve into the specifics, offering vague platitudes and carefully avoiding any direct answers. It was as if a collective silence had descended upon the family, a conspiracy of silence that left me feeling more isolated and alone than ever before. The more I tried to understand, the more elusive the answers became. The more impenetrable the wall of silence around me seemed to grow. The lack of communication, the absence of genuine connection, only served to deepen the chasm that had opened up within our family. The search for answers left me feeling lost in a labyrinth of silence and unanswered questions. The silence gnawed at me, a constant, persistent ache. I found myself replaying every interaction with Mark, searching for clues, for any indication of what had gone wrong. Had I missed something? Had I said something hurtful, something that had caused this irreparable rift? The more I searched, the more elusive the answers became. Perhaps it wasn't one single event, but a series of minor misunderstandings, a gradual erosion of trust and communication. I considered Mark's perspective, trying to see things through his eyes. Perhaps he felt overwhelmed by the weight of family expectations, the pressure to create a perfect wedding, a flawless celebration. Perhaps he craved a simpler, less complicated event, a sanctuary from the potential for conflict. Maybe he felt the need to protect his own happiness, to shield his special day from the shadow of past disagreements. Could it be that he felt my presence would only serve to exacerbate tensions, to reignite old wounds? Was he attempting to create a space of peace and harmony, a sanctuary from the discord that had marred our relationship? Had his choice stemmed from a misguided attempt to protect his father from further hurt or conflict? The possibilities swirled in my mind, a confusing vortex of conjecture and speculation. The truth, however, remained elusive, hidden behind a wall of silence and unanswered questions. The more I tried to understand, the more the reasons felt like pieces of a puzzle that refused to fit together. The search for understanding felt like a relentless pursuit of a ghost, a phantom explanation that continually evaded my grasp. Looking back, I realized that the fracture in our family wasn't a sudden event, but a slow, insidious process, a gradual unraveling of connections. There were always underlying tensions, simmering resentments that never quite surfaced, unspoken words that hung heavy in the air. The relationship between Mark and his sister, Emily, had always been complex, marked by periods of intense closeness and bitter rivalry. Their dynamic, I now see, had a profound impact on the family as a whole. Sarah, my daughter-in-law, had always been a source of quiet strength and stability, but even her unwavering support couldn't bridge the growing chasm between Mark and me. Perhaps her own anxieties and concerns played a part, subtly influencing Mark's decisions. The family gatherings, once joyous occasions filled with laughter and shared memories, had become increasingly strained, punctuated by awkward silences and averted gazes. The unspoken resentments, the unresolved conflicts, had cast a long shadow over our family life, poisoning the well of our shared history. It's clear now that my relationship with Mark wasn't an isolated island. It was deeply intertwined with the complex tapestry of our family relationships. The dynamics between siblings, spouses, and parents all played a significant role in the unraveling of our connection. Understanding this intricate web of relationships is crucial to understanding the reasons behind my exclusion from my grandson's wedding. It wasn't simply a matter of a father and son. It was a reflection of a family struggling to find its equilibrium, a family fractured by unspoken resentments and unresolved conflicts. The initial anger and hurt began to subside, replaced by a growing sense of introspection. I started to examine my own role in this painful estrangement. Had I been too demanding, too critical? Had my own expectations and desires overshadowed Mark's needs and feelings? Had I inadvertently stifled his independence, his own path in life? The questions gnawed at me, forcing me to confront uncomfortable truths about my own behavior. Perhaps my attempts to offer guidance had been perceived as interference, my well-intentioned advice misinterpreted as criticism. Maybe my strong personality, my unwavering opinions, had created a distance between us, a subtle but persistent barrier to open communication. I had always prided myself on my strength, my ability to navigate life's challenges, But perhaps that strength had become a wall, preventing Mark from expressing his own vulnerabilities and concerns. I realized that my focus had often been on what I wanted, on what I felt was best for him, rather than truly listening to his needs and desires. In my desire to guide him, I might have inadvertently pushed him away. The more I reflected, the more I saw the subtle ways in which my own actions might have contributed to the growing distance between us. It was a humbling realization, a painful recognition of my own shortcomings. The path to reconciliation, I realized, began with a thorough self-examination, a willingness to confront my own flaws and accept responsibility for my part in this painful family rift. The truth is, I wasn't always the best listener. I often interrupted, eager to offer my own perspective, my own solutions. I remember several instances where Mark was trying to express his concerns about his career, his anxieties about the future, and I brushed them aside, dismissing them as youthful concerns, trivial matters. I now realize how dismissive and hurtful that must have been. There was the time Mark wanted to pursue a different career path, one that deviated from the well-trodden path I had envisioned for him. Instead of supporting his dreams, I voiced my concerns, my doubts, in a way that felt more like condemnation than constructive criticism. I failed to see it from his perspective, to understand the passion and drive behind his aspirations. And then there were the countless times I offered unsolicited advice, often on matters he hadn't even asked about. My intentions were always good. I wanted to help, to guide him, but my methods were often flawed. I failed to recognize the importance of letting him find his own way, of allowing him to make his own mistakes and learn from them. Looking back, I see a pattern of well-intentioned but ultimately damaging behavior, a constant stream of words that unintentionally created a barrier between us. These weren't isolated incidents. They were part of a larger pattern of communication breakdown, a gradual erosion of trust and understanding. Acknowledging these mistakes is the first step toward healing. The weight of it all settled heavily on my shoulders, a crushing burden of guilt and regret. It wasn't just the exclusion from the wedding, it was the realization that I had played a part in creating this distance, this painful rift in our relationship. The memories flooded back, each one a sharp pang of remorse, a reminder of missed opportunities, of words left unspoken, of feelings left unexpressed. Sleep offered little respite. The silence of the night was filled with the echoes of my own shortcomings. The images of Mark as a child, his bright eyes full of trust and admiration, haunted me. How could I have allowed that trust to erode, that admiration to fade? The thought brought tears to my eyes, a silent testament to the depth of my regret. This wasn't simply a matter of a few misplaced words or a handful of poor decisions. It was a pattern of behavior, a consistent failure to truly understand and appreciate my son's perspective. The guilt was a constant companion, a shadow that followed me everywhere. It was a heavy cloak, stifling and suffocating. It wasn't just the pain of exclusion, it was the agonizing awareness of my own contribution to the breakdown of our relationship. The burden was immense, a weight that threatened to crush me beneath its immense pressure. Yet within that darkness, a tiny spark of hope began to flicker. The hope that perhaps, despite everything, there was still a chance for reconciliation, a chance to mend the broken pieces of our family. Forgiveness, I realized, wasn't just about Mark. It was about me, too. Forgiving myself for my mistakes, for the ways in which I had failed him, was just as crucial as forgiving him for his actions. It wasn't about condoning behavior, but about releasing the burden of resentment, the weight of anger that had been holding me captive. It was a process, a journey of self-discovery and acceptance. Acceptance, however, was proving to be more challenging. Accepting that my relationship with Mark might never be the same, that the bond we once shared might be irrevocably broken, was a bitter pill to swallow. But clinging to the hope of a perfect restoration, of a return to the idyllic past, was only prolonging my suffering. Acceptance, I realized, didn't mean resignation. It meant acknowledging reality, finding peace in the present, even amidst the pain. The path toward acceptance wasn't a straight line. It was a winding road, filled with twists and turns, moments of clarity and periods of profound doubt. There were days when the pain was almost unbearable, when the longing for reconciliation was overwhelming. But there were also moments of quiet peace, moments when I could find solace in the memories of our shared past, even amidst the present sorrow. It was a process of letting go, of releasing the grip of the past, and allowing myself to embrace the uncertainty of the future. And within that uncertainty, I found a surprising sense of freedom. This isn't just a personal story, it's a reflection of a larger issue, a common struggle between generations. The chasm between my generation and Mark's is wider than I ever imagined. Our values, our perspectives, our approaches to life, they're fundamentally different. What I considered guidance, he perceived as interference. What I saw as wisdom, he interpreted as outdated thinking. This clash of perspectives, this fundamental disconnect, is at the heart of our estrangement. I've come to understand that the world has changed dramatically since my youth. The pace of life, the technologies, the social norms, everything has evolved at an astonishing rate. The values that guided my life, the principles that shaped my worldview, don't always resonate with younger generations, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's simply a reflection of the natural evolution of society. The challenge, however, lies in bridging that gap, in finding common ground, in fostering understanding and empathy despite our differences. It's a challenge that requires humility, a willingness to listen, to learn, to adapt. It requires a conscious effort to understand the perspectives of those who are different from us, to see the world through their eyes. It means letting go of preconceived notions, of rigid expectations, and embracing the diversity of thought and experience that enriches our lives. Failing to bridge this gap is not only detrimental to individual family relationships, but it represents a broader societal problem. The failure to understand and respect generational differences leads to misunderstandings, alienation, and, ultimately, fractured communities. The pain of exclusion is a wound that continues to fester. It's not just the missing wedding, it's the absence of connection, the stark reality of being shut out from a significant family event. It's the crushing weight of loneliness, the isolating silence that amplifies the sense of loss. It's a pain that transcends mere disappointment. It's a deep, aching wound in the heart. The images of that day, the day I received the call, still haunt me. The abruptness of the news, the coldness of the tone, the finality of the decision, they all replay in my mind like a broken record. I see the empty chair at the imagined celebration, a stark symbol of my exclusion, my absence from a momentous occasion in my grandson's life. This isn't simply a matter of missing a party, it's a profound loss, a severing of the familial bond that I cherished so deeply. The isolation is overwhelming, a suffocating blanket of solitude. It's the silence of unanswered calls, the emptiness of unreturned messages, the chilling absence of any attempt at reconciliation. It's the realization that the bridge between us has been burned, leaving me stranded on the other side, alone and adrift. The pain is a constant companion, a relentless reminder of the fractured relationship, the broken connection, the deep sense of loss. It's a pain that seeps into every aspect of my life, casting a long shadow over my days. And yet, even amidst this profound sorrow, a faint glimmer of hope persists. Despite the pain, despite the hurt, a small ember of hope flickers within me. It's a fragile flame, easily extinguished, but it persists nonetheless. It's the hope for reconciliation, for a mending of the broken bonds, for a restoration of the connection that once defined our family. It's a hope that whispers promises of forgiveness and understanding, of bridging the divide that separates us. I yearn for a future where Mark and I can communicate openly and honestly, where we can share our feelings without fear of judgment or recrimination. I long for a time when I can embrace my grandson, when I can witness his happiness without the shadow of estrangement hanging over us. This isn't about demanding a change. It's about expressing a deep desire for a more harmonious relationship, a relationship built on mutual respect and genuine understanding. The path to reconciliation may be long and arduous, filled with challenges and setbacks. It may require humility, compromise, and a willingness to let go of past grievances. It may necessitate a fundamental shift in our communication styles, a conscious effort to overcome the barriers that have separated us. But I'm willing to embark on that journey, to navigate the complexities of our relationship, to work towards a future where our family is once again whole. It's a hope that sustains me, a beacon in the darkness, a promise of a brighter tomorrow. The road ahead may be uncertain, but the desire for reconciliation remains my guiding star. And that, in itself, offers a measure of comfort and strength. This experience, though profoundly painful, has been a catalyst for significant personal growth. It's forced me to confront my own flaws, to acknowledge my shortcomings in communication and my tendency towards unsolicited advice. I've learned the hard way that sometimes silence is more powerful than words, and that listening is just as important, if not more so, than speaking. Looking back, I see the subtle cracks in our relationship, the missed opportunities for connection, the accumulation of small grievances that ultimately led to this devastating fracture. I realize now that my well-intentioned advice often came across as criticism, my attempts at guidance perceived as interference. I failed to appreciate Mark's independence, his desire to forge his own path, and in doing so, I inadvertently pushed him away. This painful lesson has taught me the importance of empathy, of seeing the world through another's eyes, of understanding perspectives different from my own. It's taught me the value of patience, of allowing others the space to make their own choices, even if those choices differ from my own. It's a lesson in humility, in acknowledging my own fallibility, and in accepting the limitations of my own understanding. The pain of this experience has been profound, but the lessons learned have been equally transformative, and perhaps that transformation is the first step towards reconciliation. Perhaps understanding is the bridge that can mend the broken pieces of our relationship. Family. The word itself evokes a sense of warmth, of belonging, of unconditional love. It represents a bond that transcends time, a connection that endures through challenges and triumphs. It's the foundation upon which we build our lives, the bedrock of our emotional well-being. And yet, this fundamental human connection can be fragile, easily damaged by misunderstandings, by unresolved conflicts, by the simple passage of time. My experience has underscored the profound importance of nurturing these relationships, of cherishing the bonds that tie us together. It's a reminder that family isn't just about blood, it's about connection, about shared experiences, about mutual respect and understanding. It's about investing in these relationships, about making the effort to communicate openly and honestly, about resolving conflicts before they fester into deep-seated resentments. The pain of estrangement is a stark reminder of the value of family, a testament to the profound loss that occurs when these vital connections are severed. It's a lesson learned through hardship, a lesson etched in the deepest recesses of my heart. Maintaining strong family bonds isn't always easy. It requires effort, compromise, and a willingness to forgive. But the rewards are immeasurable. The benefits far outweigh the challenges. The warmth of family, the unwavering support, the sense of belonging. These are invaluable treasures that should be cherished and protected above all else. My hope is that, one day, I can once again experience the fullness of that connection. The silence is deafening. It's a heavy blanket, smothering, suffocating. It's the silence of unanswered questions, of unspoken feelings, of unresolved conflicts. It's the silence that has grown between Mark and me, a chasm that seems impossible to bridge. This silence isn't simply the absence of sound. It's a potent force, a destructive element that erodes relationships, that fosters misunderstanding, that breeds resentment. Unspoken words fester, like wounds left untreated. They become infected with bitterness, with anger, with regret. They build walls, impenetrable barriers that prevent communication, that stifle emotional connection. The silence is a breeding ground for assumptions, for misinterpretations, for the insidious growth of mistrust. It's a slow, agonizing process, this erosion of connection, this gradual distancing brought on by a lack of communication. The weight of this silence is immense, a crushing burden that bears down on me constantly. It's a reminder of the missed opportunities, of the words left unsaid, of the feelings left unexpressed. It's a constant source of pain, a relentless reminder of the fractured relationship, It's a chilling testament to the power of silence, to the destructive force of unspoken feelings. And yet, even within this suffocating silence, a tiny voice whispers the importance of breaking through, of finding a way to communicate, to express, to reconnect. The silence may be heavy, but the need to overcome it is heavier still. Finding peace isn't about forgetting, it's about accepting. It's about acknowledging the pain, the hurt, the disappointment, without letting those emotions consume me. It's about recognizing that some things are beyond my control, that some relationships, despite my best efforts, may remain fractured. It's a process, a journey, not a destination. This journey towards peace has been arduous, filled with moments of despair, of anger, of self-blame. There have been times when the weight of this estrangement felt unbearable, when the silence was deafening, when the future seemed bleak. But gradually, slowly, I've begun to find a sense of calm, a sense of acceptance. This isn't resignation, it's a quiet understanding, a recognition that my well-being doesn't hinge on reconciliation. My peace comes from within, from a place of self-acceptance, from a sense of self-worth that isn't dependent on the approval of others. It's about focusing on what I can control, my own thoughts, my own actions, my own emotional well-being. It's about finding joy in the relationships that flourish, in the connections that remain strong. It's about cultivating gratitude for the blessings in my life, even amidst the pain of loss. And perhaps, most importantly, it's about accepting that sometimes the best we can do is to offer forgiveness, to let go, and to move forward with a sense of peace, even in the face of incompletion. Finding peace is not the absence of pain, but the ability to live alongside it. This experience has reshaped my understanding of family, of relationships, and most importantly, of forgiveness. It's forced me to confront my own flaws, to acknowledge my part in the breakdown of our connection. I see now that my well-intentioned advice often came across as criticism, my attempts at guidance as interference. I was too quick to judge, too slow to listen, too focused on my own perspective to truly understand Mark's. My perspective on forgiveness has also undergone a profound transformation. Forgiveness, I've learned, isn't about condoning hurtful actions. It's about releasing the burden of anger and resentment. It's about freeing myself from the chains of bitterness, allowing myself to move forward, to find peace. It's a gift I give myself, not necessarily to the other person. It's about acknowledging the hurt, accepting it, and choosing to let it go, to move on. It's a process, a journey, not a single act. Furthermore, my understanding of family has shifted. Family isn't just about blood ties, it's about connection, about mutual respect, about shared experiences. It's about actively nurturing those bonds, about investing time and effort into maintaining meaningful relationships. This experience has been a painful teacher, but the lessons learned are invaluable. It's taught me the importance of empathy, of understanding, of communication, of letting go of the need to control, and of cherishing the connections that truly matter. It has revealed the profound power of acceptance, both of self and others. Acceptance doesn't mean I'm resigned to the situation. It means I've chosen to focus my energy on what I can control. My well-being isn't dependent on Mark's actions or his approval. It's a conscious decision to prioritize my own happiness, my own peace of mind. This isn't about forgetting the hurt. It's about choosing not to let it define me. It's about recognizing that holding on to anger and resentment only serves to poison my own life. Moving forward doesn't imply a complete severance of ties. A sliver of hope remains, a quiet belief that perhaps someday the lines of communication might reopen. But that hope doesn't consume me. It coexists peacefully with the acceptance of the present reality. I've learned to appreciate the relationships I do have, the connections that bring joy and fulfillment into my life. My focus is on nurturing those bonds, on cultivating gratitude for the people who are present, who offer love and support. This journey has been challenging, filled with moments of doubt and despair, but it has also been a journey of profound self-discovery, of personal growth. I've learned the importance of self-compassion, of recognizing my own limitations, of accepting that not every relationship can be salvaged, not every bridge can be rebuilt. And in that acceptance, I found a newfound strength, a quiet resilience that allows me to move forward, to embrace the future with a sense of peace and hope, even in the absence of a complete family reunion. My well-being is my priority, and that's a powerful and liberating realization. Even amidst the silence, the distance, the unresolved conflict, there are unseen bonds that persist. These are the threads of shared history, of common memories, of a lifetime woven together, however frayed. They're the echoes of laughter, the whispers of shared secrets, the unspoken understanding that comes from years of knowing someone, of witnessing their growth, their struggles, their triumphs. These bonds are resilient, enduring, defying the chasm of separation. They're present in the familiar curve of Mark's smile, a smile I haven't seen in far too long, but one that remains etched in my memory. They're in the way he holds his children, a tenderness that reflects the love he carries within him, a love I know extends to me, even if it's currently obscured by misunderstanding. These unseen bonds are the quiet hum beneath the surface of the conflict, a constant reminder of the deep-rooted connection that time and distance cannot entirely erase. They are in the shared genes, the inherited traits, the familial resemblance that transcends any present rift. They are in the subtle mannerisms, the shared expressions, the echoes of family traditions that still resonate, albeit faintly, in the silence between us. These are the invisible ties that bind us, that link generations, that whisper of a shared heritage, a common history, a bond that runs deeper than words, deeper than actions, deeper than the current pain. They are a silent testament to the enduring nature of family, a persistent hope for a future where communication is restored and understanding prevails. They're a reminder that even in the midst of conflict, the threads of connection remain, waiting to be rewoven, waiting to be strengthened. They are a promise, a silent promise, of what could be. Looking back, I see this experience not as a defeat, but as a catalyst for growth. It forced me to confront uncomfortable truths, to examine my own role in the breakdown of our relationship. It challenged me to redefine my understanding of family, of forgiveness, of what truly matters. The pain remains, a quiet ache in my heart, but it no longer consumes me. It's a reminder of the fragility of relationships, of the importance of communication, of the need for empathy and understanding. The silence continues, but it's a different silence now. It's not the heavy, suffocating silence of anger and resentment. It's a quieter silence, a space for reflection, for acceptance, for healing. It's a silence that holds within it the faintest whisper of hope, a glimmer of possibility for a future reconciliation, a future where bridges might be rebuilt, where understanding might prevail. But even if that future doesn't materialize, I'm at peace with my own choices, with my own journey. I've learned to cherish the relationships I have, to nurture those connections that bring joy and fulfillment into my life. I've found solace in my friends, in my community, in the quiet moments of reflection that allow me to appreciate the beauty of the world around me. This experience has taught me the resilience of the human spirit, the capacity for self-forgiveness, and the enduring power of love, even in the face of heartbreak and estrangement. And that, in itself, is a profound and enduring legacy. The journey continues, and though the path remains uncertain, I walk it with a newfound sense of peace and a quiet confidence in my ability to navigate life's complexities, its joys and its sorrows. The future remains unwritten, but I face it with hope, with acceptance, and with a heart full of quiet gratitude for the lessons learned.